Was a boy named Jack who lived with his mother in a small cottage. They were very poor and had nothing left to eat. The only thing they owned was a cow named Daisy, who gave them milk. One day, the cow stopped giving milk, and Jack's mother told him, "Jack, take Daisy to the market and sell her so we can buy food." Jack set off to the market, leading Daisy. On the way, he met a strange man who looked at Daisy and said, "I'll trade you this magic. I'll trade you these 5 magic beans for your cow. Plant them and you'll see something amazing." Jack thought for a moment. The beans did seem special and the man seemed so sure. So Jack made a trade and went home with the beans instead of money. When Jack's mother saw what he had done, she was very angry. "You traded our cow for beans? How could you?" she shouted. She was so upset that she threw the beans out of the window. Jack felt sad and he went to bed hungry that night. The next morning, Jack woke up and looked out of the window. To his amazement, a gigantic beanstalk had grown overnight. It reached so high that it disappeared into the clouds. Curious and excited, Jack decided to climb the beanstalk. He climbed and climbed, higher and higher, until he reached the top, where he found a strange land and a huge castle. Jack walked up to the castle and, feeling brave, he went inside. Everything was enormous, way bigger than anything Jack had ever seen. Suddenly, Jack heard a loud voice. "Fee, fi, fo, fum! I smell the blood of an Englishman." It was a giant. Jack quickly hid behind a big chair, trembling with fear. The giant sat down at his table and began to eat. When he finished, he called for his magical hen, which laid golden eggs. "Lay!" commanded the giant, and the hen laid a shiny golden egg. Then the giant took out his magical harp that played beautiful music all by itself. As the harp played, the giant fell asleep. Seeing his chance, Jack snuck out from behind a chair and quietly grabbed the hen and the harp. But as he tried to leave, the harp suddenly cried out, "Master! Master! Help!" The giant woke up with a start and saw Jack running away with his treasures. Furious, the giant began to chase him. Jack ran as fast as his legs could carry him. He reached the beanstalk and quickly started climbing down. The giant followed him, roaring with anger, shaking the beanstalk as he climbed. Jack could hear the giant getting closer, so he shouted to his mother, "Mother, get an axe! Quick!" His mother rushed out with an axe, and when Jack reached the bottom, he began to chop down the beanstalk. He chopped and chopped until finally the beanstalk began to fall. The giant, who was still climbing down, came crashing to the ground with a loud thud, and that was the end of him. With a hen that laid golden eggs and a magical harp, Jack and his mother were no longer poor. They had plenty of food, money, and music, and they lived happily ever after. And that's the end of the story of the Jack and the Beanstalk. Hello, everyone. YouTube. What's this? Oh, hello, everyone who are listening to our bedtime stories. Now, the next story is. Mm, I like this one. Snow White. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there was a kind and beautiful princess named Snow White. She had skin as white as snow, lips as red as roses, and hair as black as coal. But she lived with her stepmother, the queen, who was beautiful on the outside, but jealous and cruel on in the inside. Oh no. The queen had a magical mirror. Every day she would ask it, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror would always answer, "You, my queen, are the fairest of them all." This made the queen smile, for she loved being the most admired in the kingdom. But as Snow White grew older, her beauty began to shine even brighter. One day, when the queen asked her mirror, it replied, "Snow White is the fairest of them all." The queen was furious. She could not bear the thought of anyone being more beautiful than her. So she made a quick, wicked plan. She called the royal huntsman and ordered, "Take Snow White deep into the forest and Bring her back." The huntsman led Snow White far into the woods, but when he looked into her kind, gentle eyes, he could not do her harm. "Run away," he whispered, "and never return to the castle. The queen must never find you." Snow White ran through the forest, dodging trees and stumbling over roots. She was frightened and alone. Just as the sun began to set, she found a tiny cottage hidden among the trees. She knocked softly. No one answered. She stepped inside and saw seven little chairs, seven little bowls, and seven little tiny beds. Tired from running, she lay down across the beds and soon fell fast asleep. That evening, the owners of the cottage returned. There were seven dwarfs who worked in the mountains digging for gems. When they saw Snow White, they gathered around. "Who is this girl?" asked one. "She looks tired," said another. "Let's not scare her. Maybe she needs help," said Jolly, the happiest of the seven. Snow White woke up and gasped, but the dwarfs were kind. She told them her story, and their faces turned serious. "You can stay with us," said the gruffest one. "But the queen may come looking for you," warned Wise the oldest. "I'll be careful," Snow White promised. She stayed with the dwarfs, helping the chores and making the cottage feel like home. They became like a family. But far away in her castle, the queen once again asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And the mirror replied, "Snow White, who lives with the seven dwarfs, is the fairest of them all." The queen was enraged. Using dark magic, she disguised herself as an old woman. She made a shiny red apple and filled it with a terrible sleeping spell. Dressed in her disguise, the queen traveled to the cottage and knocked on the door. "Hello, dear," she said sweetly. "Would you like to try a special apple? It's the sweetest one you'll ever taste." Snow White hesitated, but the woman seemed harmless, and the apple looked delicious. She took one small bite, and suddenly her eyes closed and she fell to the floor. The queen laughed wickedly and disappeared into the woods. When the dwarfs returned home, they found Snow White well lying still and silent. They cried and tried everything, but she would not wake up. They gently laid her in a glass case filled with soft flowers and placed it deep in the forest. They stayed near her, always hoping she would wake. One day a prince rode through the woods and saw her. He had heard of her kindness and beauty. When he saw her face, his heart filled with sadness. He leaned down and gently kissed her forehead. Suddenly, Snow White's fluttered open. The spell was broken. The dwarfs jumped and cheered. Snow White smiled at them, then at the prince. "Come with me," said the prince. "You'll be safe in my castle and never afraid again." Snow White hugged each of the dwarfs. "I'll never forget you," she said with happy tears. She left with the prince to live a joyful life, but often returned to visit the seven little dwarf friends who had given her love and safety when she needed it most. As for the evil queen, when she learned that Snow White still lived, her anger grew so hot that it shattered her magic forever. She vanished, never to return. And so, Snow White lived happily ever after, always remembering that kindness, courage, and true friends are the most powerful magic of all. And that's the end of the story of the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Did you like the story, Mama? Oh. Now, let's try this another story. The Sleeping Beauty. Once upon a time, there lived a king and queen. After many years of their marriage, the queen gave birth to a lovely sweet girl. The king and the queen were very happy. The king announced a grand celebration in the kingdom. He asked his servants to invite everyone for the feast. The king's servants forgot to invite an old fairy. In the evening, the whole kingdom and all the good fairies came and blessed the baby girl. Okay, hold on. Aray ko po. Oh my gosh. Oh. Wait lang po. Wait lang po. Okay. Okay, baby. Oh no. Yeah. What happened? Now, but when the old fairy got to know about the celebration, she got angry as she was not invited. She went to the king's palace and cursed the baby. When the baby will be 16 years old, she will touch a spindle and die. The king and the queen became sad with this curse, and they begged the old fairy to take her words back. But she refused to take her words back and went away. The king and the queen begged the good fairies, "Please help us. We don't want our daughter to die so soon." The good fairies felt pity on them and said, "We cannot undo the spell, but we can make it different. When your child will touch the spindle, she will fall asleep for 100 years. Then a prince will come and wake her up." The king and the queen were relieved. After this, the king ordered everyone in the kingdom not to spin, so that the princess would never touch a spindle. Everyone in the kingdom accepted the orders of their kind king. As the princess grew up, she became a kind girl. She helped everyone in the kingdom. Everyone loved her a lot. One day, when she was 16 years old, she went into the forest. She walked and saw a cottage. She went inside and saw an old lady spinning. The princess was surprised to see the spindle as she had never seen it before. She asked the lady, "What is this?" The old lady said, "This is a spindle." The princess asked, "May I try?" The old lady felt that she was a kind girl, so she allowed her to spin. The princess got happy and she came to the princess got happy and she came to the spindle. As soon as the princess touched the spindle, she fell asleep due to the curse of the old fairy. The old lady got worried. She took the princess to the palace. When the king and the queen saw her daughter asleep, she got to know that the old fairy's curse had fallen on her. She laid her on the bed in her bedroom. Then the king asked her servants to call the good fairies. The good fairies came and casted a spell over the whole kingdom. With this spell, the whole kingdom fell asleep for 100 years. After this, the good fairies went away. Years and years passed, and everyone stayed asleep till 100 years were completed. After 100 years, a prince came to the forest near the kingdom with his servants. While roaming in the forest, he was separated by his servants. Then he walked alone and reached the sleeping kingdom. There he saw that everyone was asleep and he felt weird. Then he saw the palace and went inside. There he saw the king, the queen, and the servants asleep. He went forward and saw the princess sleeping in her bedroom. He fell in love with her at first sight, so he went inside her bedroom and kissed her. As soon as he kissed her, she woke up. Slowly, everyone else in the kingdom also woke up. The princess asked the prince, "Who are you?" The prince said, "I am a prince." Meanwhile, the king and the queen came running to see their daughter. They saw the prince and thanked him for saving their daughter's life. The prince asked the princess' hand from the king and the queen. The princess also fell in love with the prince, so her parents accepted the proposal of the prince. The prince and the princess got married. Everyone came to the marriage to bless the couple. Then the prince rode away with his bride to his kingdom. The moral of the story. The moral of the story is that we should be kind and we would get rewarded in the end. The king and the queen were so much indulged in the happiness of the birth of their baby, that they forgot to invite the old fairy. Hence, the prince and the queen were so sad. they had to suffer. But the good fairies helped the king because of his kindness. So, always remember to be kind and not harm others. Kindness always brings rewards in the end.